Hello everybody, Andrew Field here. It's only been a couple days, but there's been a lot of news to cover, so let's get right into it. A poll found that America is the unhappiest they've been in 50 years. I guess that makes sense with, the coronavirus pandemic and having to shut down and not as much stuff to do. But I think that survey was even taken before the protests and everything that's been going on, so it may have been lower, after if the poll's taken, but hopefully we just go up from here. Beijing went back into lockdown over the coronavirus. Florida, Texas, and Arizona reported record new cases. States that were also hit hard were North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma. Those were all states that were hit hard, but Florida, Texas, and Arizona were hit the worst. 21 states had increasingly new daily cases and hospitalizations. Florida's median age of catching the virus went down a lot from like 70 to like 40. It went down a lot, which means a lot of younger people are getting it, which makes sense because they're the ones that, especially in Florida, that are less likely to be following the guidelines of social distancing. To say how bad it is, Florida reported almost 4,000 new cases in a day. Um, you know, that's more than most of the countries. Florida alone. Apple temporarily shut down 11 stores total in between the states of South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona amid the spikes. The U.S. reported over 30,000 cases, and that's the highest number since May 1st. The case number has been going down since May, and places like Illinois and New York have done a good job. But sadly, states like Florida and Arizona are making it go up for the rest of us because of the record amount of cases they're getting. AMC is planning to reopen, but will require theater goers to wear masks after public backlash when they said they were not going to enforce that. Juneteenth, which is a day to celebrate the end of slavery, and it's actually not the day that slavery ended, but years after the Emancipation Proclamation, when Union soldiers had to march into Galveston, Texas, where slavery, because Texas was still allowing slavery, so Union soldiers had to enforce the law, where the whole country at that point was free. So that's why it's celebrated on that day. Massive rallies occurred to protest racial injustice that day, and protests are continuing, but that just gave another reason to protest that day. And I think that the Juneteenth definitely should be a national holiday, especially with what's going on right now. A man living in Atlanta was detained after firing an AR-15 into a crowd of protesters, and he hit a protester, but miraculously there were no injuries reported. There were 8 positive cases of coronavirus at a Phillies camp in Florida. The spring training camp closed, and the Tampa Bay Lightning closed their facility due to the virus. I think there was another baseball team that had infected cases. And Austin Matthews confirmed today that he contracted the virus and now is self-isolating. So there's a lot of big names that have gotten the virus. The 3 biggest so far have been Austin Matthews, Ezekiel Elliott, and Kevin Durant. So Trump is actually going on the path that he did when the virus first started. He's not talking about the virus anymore. He's not saying it's a threat. He's saying it's dying out when the statistics show otherwise. The coronavirus death rate reached 120,000 deaths now, and that's more American deaths than in World War I. Just to put in perspective how bad it is. excuse me. The residents of Tulsa tried to enforce social distancing protocols for Trump's campaign rally. A Tulsa judge rejected the notion. And this is how little he cares about black lives. Trump was going to have his rally in Tulsa, where the most African Americans were killed, like 300 were killed in a huge hate crime, where there was this city, Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was seen as like a black Wall Street. It was very rich neighborhood, and 300 African Americans were killed, and it was the anniversary of that, and Trump was going to have his rally in that city on Juneteenth, and he just moved it to the next day. So, that shows how he is. Another thing about that was, the Tulsa judge rejected the notion, and Oklahoma and Tulsa has cases steep on the rise, so that creates even more of a health risk than it would have going somewhere else. Dr. Fauci said he would not go into a crowded event like that. The Trump campaign said they would do temperature checks and hand sanitizers and masks, but the thing is that it's not required, it's only recommended. And I think he only did that after criticism. So it was a step, but it was definitely not enough. And Trump threatened protesters who protest his rally. And before his rally even started, 6 members of his campaign that were, I think, going to be at the rally tested positive for coronavirus. Trump supporters lined up outside of the arena. Supporters harassed CNN reporter that was going by. Trump and the Trump campaign greatly exaggerated how many people were going to be there. It's like 1 million people RSVP'd, so they thought there was going to be a lot of people. They said like there was going to be 40,000 people outside of the arena. They said there was, I think some people even said 100,000 people, but that did not turn out to be true at all. I think the total was about 20,000, maybe less, because the stadium could not even fill the whole stadium. Like the bottom row was filled pretty well, but like the top, like the second level, was not filled that well. So it may not even been the 20,000. The Trump campaign canceled the address to the overflow crowd. That was a crowd that was supposed to go around the arena because the arena was supposed to be so full. And it was because the overflow crowd failed to materialize outside the rally. It was definitely a smaller than expected crowd. Trump planned to have Air Force One come fly low by the arena, but he didn't get the reaction, of course, because there were not that many people there outside. Trump said he wanted to slow the testing down on the coronavirus during the rally because, more testing means more results. So that's a really horrible thing to hear from a president. No networks played Pence speaking. It was really incredible. I was flipping through news networks and they were all talking while Mike Pence, the vice president, was speaking, and even Fox News, they were going to commercial, and everyone was talking over him. I was really surprised by that. I didn't expect that. And Fox was the only network I saw that showed Trump actually speaking, and they did that for good reason because Trump mainly spoke of hate and division. Eric Trump at the rally referred the racial justice protesters to animals, and Black Lives Matter protesters waited for Trump supporters as the rally wrapped up. Biden had a safe gathering of few people spread out, and Biden has not done a press conference in 77 days. Democrats are not worried because Trump's approval rating keeps falling. The president of Honduras got infected with the coronavirus. Brazil is in really bad shape with they topped 1 million coronavirus cases and we're at 3 million, but the rate that they're growing is actually insane. They've had I think it was their highest day, but they had 55,000 coronavirus cases just reported today, and they're rising really quickly. So hopefully Brazil stabilizes, but it doesn't look like it's doing that anytime soon. They reported a higher death toll than us today, and yeah, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see where it goes from here. California governor required Californians to wear masks inside. The New York City Governor Cuomo held his last coronavirus briefing, I guess daily briefing. I think he said that he was going to continue maybe briefings every once in a while, but they didn't need to be every day anymore because the situation was getting so much better in New York. He gave his staff a day break after 111 days of these briefings and scheduling and everything like that. Most experts agree that a coronavirus vaccine won't come in 2020. They say that it'd probably be later in 2021 when it's possible. The United Nations Human Rights Council held a debate over police brutality and systemic racism in America. George Floyd's brother asked for the UN to get involved with America's situation. Pence refused 3 times to say Black Lives Matter when reporters were asking him about it, and he said all lives matter. That's the Vice President of America. The Trump administration sued John Bolton over a book dispute. He also denied the details of the book. John Bolton's book says crazy accusations that would have been nice to hear on trial, like the House should have investigated Trump for potentially impeachable action beyond Ukraine. He said that Trump asked Chinese President Xi to help Trump win the 2020 election. John Bolton, if you don't know, was Trump's former national security advisor. He said that Trump wasn't fit for office and doesn't have the competence to carry out the job. He also said that Trump told Turkish President Erdogan that he would intervene in an investigation of a Turkish bank, and he said it did feel like obstruction of justice to me. So that's really damning information if it were to be true, and I think the House should have him there to speak his mind on a hearing. That's what I meant to say. In a hearing. No, not you, Siri. Let's see. A U.S. judge declined to block the release of the book by John Bolton, which is really good because Trump was trying to block the book from being published, which makes no sense because he says the details aren't true. But if the details aren't true, why would he be trying so hard to stop the book from making it out to the public? A vast Russian online deception operation was exposed, and the operation tried to create divisions or tensions between European countries and the U.S. A U.S. attorney refused to step down after Attorney General Barr tried to push him out. Barr is really a disgrace to America, and he's a hard Trump ally when he should be the Attorney General and working with the Justice Department to try and find justice instead of sticking up for his buddy Trump. But sadly, he's not doing his job well. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jared Nadler invited the Manhattan-based attorney that was investigating Trump's circle to testify. The attorney decided to step down because Barr said that Trump fired him, but then Trump told reporters, "I'm not involved," and he, I guess, did not want to take credit. An ex-Atlanta police officer who killed Rayshard Brooks was charged with felony murder. Majority of Atlanta officers did not show up to work to protest the officer's charges. I told you there's a lot in this video. The Supreme Court blocked President Trump's attempt to terminate the DACA immigration program. He saved 800,000 immigrant dreamers. Vulnerable Republican senators leave Trump out of their campaign ads. They try to highlight their efforts to help Americans with the coronavirus, but the Republican effort wasn't that good, at least in the beginning. So that's an uphill battle as well. But I kind of understand them trying not to have Trump in their messaging anymore because he's hurting them more than helping them. Indians held funerals for soldiers killed at Chinese border. They burned portraits of Chinese President Xi. Russia said they were watching the clashes between their two strategic tongue twisters, huh? Clashes between their two strategic partners, China and India. Wider armed conflict between India and China is unlikely, analysts say. And I agree, because that would probably lead to World War III, and I don't think either side wants that. I don't think they're that angry at each other, but they definitely still are angry. Facebook removed a Trump political ad because it had a Nazi symbol. And yes, that's what it takes for Facebook to take down Trump political ads, because Facebook is highly biased, and I guess they're making a lot of money off of Trump and them because they are not fact-checking or really doing anything to stop Trump at all on Facebook. But the Nazi symbol, that was enough for them. So at least they have some sort of morals, I guess. Taco Bell said that they supported the Black Lives Matter movement, but a manager was fired for wearing a Black Lives Matter mask. So Taco Bell, like Starbucks, was not going all the way. I think they said that people shouldn't be fired over wearing masks and things like that, but I don't know if they gave the manager his job back. So hopefully he did get his job back. The mayor initiated firing the officer. The mayor initiated firing of the officer tied to Breonna Taylor's death. Senator Amy Klobuchar withdrew from the consideration of being Joe Biden's vice president. I think she was saying that a person of color should be his vice president. The Navy upheld their firing of carrier captain who warned of coronavirus. Netflix co-founder and CEO Reed Hastings and his wife Patty Quillen said they were giving $120 million to historically black colleges Morehouse College, Spelman College, and UNCF, the nation's best minority education organizations, and that's Hastings using his power for good. So I just wanted to end it on a good note. I hope you guys appreciate the video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.